In October 2024, the world knew within days of the final whistle that the WNBA had lost $40 million.
The season had just ended. We already knew they lost money. In October of 2024, we found out the WNBA had lost $40 million.
The information was leaked, reported, and debated almost instantly. But as the 2025 calendar year draws to a close, the financial reports for the most successful year in league history are nowhere to be found. The silence is not accidental. It is a tactical blackout. The missing 2025 money report is the central weapon in a high-stakes war between players demanding their fair share and owners who claim the league is still a charity project supported by the NBA.
Where is the 2025 report at? Who's holding it? This is the article that they put out. October 18th of 2024. Guys, it's 12/27 of 2025. We don't know if the league made any money or not.
The atmosphere in the front offices of New York and the training camps of the 12 franchises is one of calculated suspense. While fans celebrate record-breaking attendance and a landmark $2.2 billion media deal, the actual profit and loss statements for 2025 are being treated like state secrets. This transparency deficit serves a specific purpose. It allows the league to maintain a narrative of financial fragility during the most critical collective bargaining agreement negotiations in the history of the sport.
I'm here to show you this because it just shows you the agenda. The sports media has these figures and are hiding it from the public.
If the numbers were to show that the Caitlin Clark effect actually pushed the league into the black, the players' union would have the smoking gun needed to demand a total overhaul of the salary structure. The absence of these figures creates a vacuum of truth where rumors and speculation thrive. Projections suggest the league could be hitting $1 billion in revenue, yet the players are still fighting for childcare and retirement benefits. The question is no longer just about how much money was made, but who benefits from the public not knowing the answer. The delay suggests that the voodoo accounting of professional sports is working overtime to ensure that the 2025 windfall does not translate into immediate player wealth. The 2025 season was fueled by a phenomenon that traditional sports economics was not prepared to handle. Caitlin Clark did not just sell jerseys, she redefined the entire economic footprint of the WNBA. Analysis by financial experts indicated that Clark was responsible for a staggering 26.5% of all league economic activity during her debut year. For 2025, that impact was projected to exceed $875 million, with a realistic ceiling of $1 billion when accounting for merchandise, increased ticket prices, and television-driven advertising revenue. This is the billion-dollar ghost, a massive pile of cash that everyone can see moving through the economy, but which the league refuses to acknowledge as profit. The disparity between the value generated and the compensation received is a central theme of the 2025 season. While Clark generated hundreds of millions in value, her base salary remained at a mere $78,066. The league argues that this is the result of the current CBA, but the players argue that the current agreement is an artifact of a bygone era. The Caitlin Clark effect has led to a 500% increase in league-wide merchandise sales and a 34% increase in total attendance, reaching 3.15 million fans. Every metric indicates a business that is not just growing but exploding, yet the official narrative remains tethered to the losses of the past. This explosion in interest has created a revenue paradox. The league is bringing in more cash than ever, but it is also spending more. The move to charter flights alone added $25 million in annual costs. The league uses these rising expenses to justify the lack of profit, but the players' union sees it differently. They view these expenses as necessary investments in a billion-dollar product that the players built. The silence on the 2025 report ensures that the debate over profitability remains a matter of opinion rather than a matter of accounting. The war for the future of the WNBA is being fought over two numbers, 15% and 30%. The league's current offer includes a path to a $1 million max salary, but only if the players agree to a revenue-sharing model that caps their take at roughly 15% of league and team revenue. The WNBA has countered with a demand for 30%, arguing that anything less is a continuation of a system that exploits their labor while the league's value skyrockets. This disagreement is the primary reason the 2025 money report has been kept in the shadows. If the league were to report a profit today, their 15% offer would look like a pittance. The current revenue-sharing model is a masterclass in restrictive accounting. Under the 2020 CBA, Players only get a split of revenue once the league hits cumulative targets that increase by 20% every year. Even then, the league is allowed to take a 30% deduction off the top for marketing and production costs before the players see a single cent. In 2024, this resulted in players receiving only 9.3% of total revenue, the lowest percentage in professional sports. The Players' Union has described the new proposal as lipstick on a pig, arguing that the league is merely reshuffling the same small pot of money rather than giving them a seat at the table. The tension reached a boiling point in December 2025 when 98% of the players authorized a strike. This was not a call for an immediate walkout, but a show of force designed to prove that the players are unified. They are no longer willing to wait for the 2026 media rights deal to kick in. They want the value they are creating now to be reflected in their bank accounts. The January 9th deadline is a ticking time bomb. If no agreement is reached, the 2026 season, free agency, and the expansion draft could all be delayed or canceled. While the players and the league office are at odds, a second front has opened up within the ownership ranks. The NBA owns 60% of the WNBA, and for years, NBA owners have quietly subsidized the league's losses, which Adam Silver once stated averaged $10 million annually. But with the WNBA suddenly becoming the hottest property in sports, the quiet is over. NBA owners, led by James Dolan of the New York Knicks, are demanding transparency. They want to know exactly where the money is going and when they will see a return on their investment. The conflict centers on the integrated business model. Silver argues that the WNBA and NBA are one ecosystem, but owners like Dolan claim that the league is using creative accounting to hide expansion fees and sponsorship revenue. An unnamed NBA executive told the New York Post that they aren't even seeing money from the record-breaking expansion fees. This internal friction is a major reason for the missing money report. If the WNBA is making money, the NBA owners want their dividends. If it's losing money, they want to know why the league is expanding so aggressively. The missing money might be caught in a debt trap. The WNBA reportedly owes the NBA so much for past subsidies that any current profit is immediately funneled back to the parent league to settle the books. This means that even in a record year like 2025, the WNBA could technically lose money on paper because of interest and debt repayment to the NBA. This voodoo accounting allows the league to tell the players they are broke while the NBA is quietly recouping its investment behind the scenes. The most shocking element of the 2025 financial landscape is the price of admission. In 2023, the Golden State Valkyries paid $50 million to join the league. By mid-2025, that fee had quintupled. The league announced that new teams in Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia would have to pay a record $250 million expansion fee. This valuation leap is unprecedented for a league that claims it hasn't turned a profit in 29 years. Investors are essentially betting $250 million on the idea that the WNBA is about to become a cash cow. The Golden State Valkyries have already proven that the gamble can pay off. Before even playing a full season, their valuation hit $500 million, 10 times their expansion fee. They set a single-game revenue record of $3 million in their 2025 home opener, proving that there is massive untapped demand in major markets. But this speculative boom is dangerous. If the CBA negotiations fail and the league shuts down, these $250 million investments could evaporate. The owners of these new teams are likely the ones most desperate for the 2025 money report to remain hidden, as a true accounting might reveal that the current revenue doesn't yet support a $500 million valuation. The high revenue multiples, averaging 12 times revenue for WNBA teams compared to 11.9 for the NBA, indicate that the league is in a hyper-growth phase. This is why the players are so adamant about revenue sharing. They see the owners' wealth increasing by hundreds of millions through valuation alone, while their salaries are still tied to the league's operating losses. The silence on the 2025 numbers keeps the valuation high by hiding the gritty reality of the expenses required to sustain that growth. A recurring theme in the 2025 season is the perception of media bias. Critics and some podcast hosts have pointed out that most sports media outlets have taken a pro-player stance, largely ignoring the financial risks taken by owners. Outlets like Outsports have focused heavily on the social impact and the LGBTQ+ identity of the league's stars, such as Paige Buchers, who was named Athlete of the Year. While this has helped build a loyal and engaged fan base, some argue it has created an agenda that prioritizes social narrative over economic reality. Independent commentators have accused mainstream media of hiding the true financial figures to help the players' union in negotiations. They argue that if the public knew the league was still losing money despite the Caitlin Clark surge, the sympathy for the players' strike would disappear. This battle of narratives is as intense as the battle on the court. The missing report is a Rorschach test. The pro-player media sees it as proof of hidden profits, while the skeptical commentators see it as proof of hidden losses. The agenda also extends to the coverage of rookie stars. Paige Bucher's Rookie of the Year honor and her relationship with Azzi Fudd were massive stories in 2025, but the economic reality of her contract was rarely discussed in the same breath. By focusing on the must-follow LGBTQ power couples, the media keeps the focus on the cultural moment rather than the cold, hard math of the missing money report. This helps the league maintain its high valuations by emphasizing relevance over profitability. To understand why the money report is missing, one must understand the term basketball-related income, or BRI. In the NBA, BRI includes almost everything: ticket sales, TV deals, merchandise, and even some arena signage. NBA players are guaranteed a 50% split of that total pot. But in the WNBA, BRI is a much narrower definition. Historically, WNBA salaries have not been formally linked to BRI, and the definitions used to calculate the revenue targets for sharing are opaque. The players are now demanding a clear, expansive definition of BRI that includes team-level revenue and sponsorship. They are looking at the NWSL model, which takes 10% of total media and sponsorship revenue and divides it equally among players without allowing the league to deduct production costs. The WNBA's current 30% deduction is the voodoo that keeps the players from seeing the rewards of their work. If the 2025 report were released today, it would reveal exactly how much money is being diverted into these production costs, potentially exposing them as a mechanism to suppress the player share. The math is simple. The current WNBA model is designed to shrink the shared pool before the split even happens. This is why the 2025 report is toxic. It would show a gross revenue of perhaps $1 billion, but an adjusted pool that makes it look like the league can't afford a raise. The players have realized that the fight isn't about the percentage, it's about the math used to get there. The missing 2025 money report isn't just a document, it's a harbinger. We are approaching an inflection point where the WNBA must decide if it is an integrated subsidiary of the NBA or a standalone business that can survive on its own merits. Warnings that the league could fold if players get too greedy sound extreme, but they reflect the cold reality of the Board of Governors' mindset. If the 2025 report shows that the league still lost money despite the greatest surge in sports history, the owners may decide that the experiment has failed. But the players have alternatives. New leagues are proving that the talent can exist outside the traditional structure. If the WNBA doesn't release the numbers and offer a fair deal by January 9th, we could see a mass exodus of talent to leagues that offer better pay and more transparency. The Caitlin Clark era was supposed to be the beginning of the league's golden age, but without financial honesty, it might just be the most profitable sunset in sports history. The silence is loud because it's the sound of a system that can't reconcile its past with its future. Whether the report shows a profit of $20 million or a loss of $12 million, the true story is the silence itself. It is the silence of a league that knows its old way of doing business is over, but isn't yet ready to let the players hold the keys to the vault. As the deadline approaches, one thing is certain: the world is watching and the numbers will eventually come to light. And when they do, the WNBA will never be the same. The transition from a subsidized experiment to a multi-billion-dollar industry is never painless. The 2025 season will be remembered for the triple-doubles and the sold-out arenas, but in the history books of sports business, it will be defined by the data that wasn't there. The league is currently holding its breath, hoping to reach a deal before the ledger is forced open. But in a world of 24-hour news cycles and leaked memos, the blackout cannot last forever. As we look toward the 2026 season, the questions remain. Where did the expansion fees go? Why is the definition of revenue still so narrow? And most importantly, who is the league really for? The fans, the players, or the NBA's bottom line? The 2025 financial report, once released, will answer these questions, but it might also trigger a transformation that none of the stakeholders are truly prepared for. For now, the spreadsheet remains blank, and the clock is ticking. The economic reality of the WNBA is no longer a niche topic for enthusiasts. It is a case study in how power shifts during a gold rush. The The 2025 season proved that the demand for women's basketball is insatiable. It proved that individual stars can move markets in ways previously thought impossible. But it also proved that the infrastructure of the league is still built on a foundation of secrecy. If the goal of the 2025 financial blackout was to maintain leverage, it may have backfired. By hiding the numbers, the league has inadvertently convinced the players that the profits are even larger than they likely are. In the absence of data, the imagination takes over, and right now, the players are imagining a future where they are no longer treated as secondary assets. They are imagining a league where the 30% deductions are gone, where the $250 million expansion fees are reinvested in their longevity, and where the 2025 report is a trophy of their success rather than a hidden shame. Whether this leads to a historic new agreement or a devastating strike, the 2025 financial blackout has already changed the game. It has forced a conversation about transparency that can never be unhad. It has pitted billionaire owners against a new generation of million-dollar icons, and it has made the mundane act of releasing a year-end report into the most anticipated event in sports. As January 9th looms, the WNBA stands at a crossroads. Behind one door is the path of transparency, where the league admits its wealth and shares it with those who created it. Behind the other is the path of continued secrecy, where the numbers remain hidden, the tension remains high, and the risk of collapse becomes a reality. The 2025 money report is the key to both doors. The only question left is when the league will finally be forced to turn it. The silence of 2025 is not just about money, it is about respect. It is about acknowledging that the players have elevated the league to a level where the old excuses no longer apply. The blackout is a desperate attempt to hold on to a power dynamic that is rapidly evaporating. When the numbers finally break, the explosion will be felt across the entire landscape of professional sports. The voodoo accounting will fail, the billion-dollar ghost will take form, and the WNBA will finally have to face the truth of its own success. The era of the $10 million loss narrative is dead. Whether the league likes it or not, the 2025 season was the year the WNBA became too big to hide. The fans know it, the advertisers know it, and the players certainly know it. The only ones still pretending otherwise are the ones holding the missing report. But as every athlete knows, you can only run the clock for so long. Eventually, the buzzer sounds and the score is settled. For the WNBA, that moment is now. The numbers are out there. In the bank accounts of the Fever and the Liberty, in the contracts of the new media partners, and in the ledgers of the NBA. They tell a story of a league that has finally arrived. They tell a story of a business that is no longer a charity, and they tell a story that the front office is terrified to release. The 2025 financial report is the final piece of the puzzle, and when it is placed, the picture of the new WNBA will be complete, for better or for worse.